Well, there are legal and political ramifications to this ruling, but most importantly, this comes down to the impact on women and families. Joining us now, retired Judge LaDoris Cordell and our political analyst, Larry Gerston. Nice to have both of you on the program on this monumental night. Judge Cordell, let's start with you here. 50 years of a constitutional right overturned. How common or uncommon is this?
Well, this is very uncommon. What we're talking about is this principle of stare decisis, which says a decision stands unless there is a reason to change it. And there was no reason to change this law that had been on the books for just about 50 years. But more importantly, this decision shows, first of all, that the Senate confirmation hearings were a sham. For the nominees, particularly for Kavanaugh and Gorsuch. They specifically said they respected stare decisis, and they lied. They perjured themselves. They were under oath when they said it because they did quite the opposite. And secondly, history repeats. History repeats. We have, in the 1860s, we had a civil war, and the states were divided. With this decision, it is now a legal civil war. We have this country divided with states that support abortion and those that have banned it. So just like in the Civil War, we had an underground railroad that smuggled the enslaved to freedom. We have now, you're going to see an underground railroad which will smuggle women from these states that ban abortion to states where they can be free and make reproductive decisions.
And Judge Cordell, Judge Clarence Thomas of the Supreme Court suggested other cases should be and could be looked at, which might overturn same-sex marriage and contraception among them. Is that really on the table right now?
Absolutely. So in his dissent, he didn't suggest it. He said that this is what the court should do next. So he is putting out there, which I'm sure most of the majority of the conservatives were probably thinking in this fashion, that these next rights ought to be attacked and be reversed. He's blatantly said they were unconstitutional. You notice, because they weren't contained earlier in the Constitution when the framers put together the Constitution. But you notice one right he didn't mention was interracial marriage, and that was the Loving case. That's not in the Constitution, but he didn't mention that, and why? Because the person he is married to is white. He has an interracial marriage. So yeah, this decision deals with the proclivities of individuals. It has nothing to do with the rule of law, which is a foundation of our system of laws, and that is stare decisis and the respect for precedent. It has been tossed out the window.
Larry Gerston, let's bring you in this conversation. Plenty of polling indicates, and correct me if I'm wrong, that this is not the will of the people. Most Americans favor a woman's right to choose. How'd this happen today?
Look, the polling is one thing. The court's actions are another. The court says we don't act because of the ways that majorities feel. We act because of what we see in the Constitution. And in the Constitution, what they said, to go along with what Judge Cordell said, we don't see anything that says anything about the right to choose. It's not mentioned anywhere. Now, the other side would say, wait a second, if you look at the 14th Amendment, the 9th Amendment, it is issued there. It doesn't say right to privacy, but it talks about equality, equal protection under the law, and things like that. So you've got in recent polling, Raj, as much as 85% of the public saying a woman should have a right to choose. Abortion should be legal, if not in all cases, certainly some. Things like, when somebody's raped or a woman's health, things like that. This decision gets rid of all of that potentially if the states want to go in that direction. We know already that 13 states are ready to go now, and as many as another 15 states are ready to go in the next few weeks. And now you're going to have not just a new civil war, as the judge said, but in addition to the Civil War, because we already have a legal civil war going on with gun control. We already have an illegal civil war going on with immigration policy. This adds to the great divisiveness we've seen in this nation that we have not seen in at least 50 years.
Larry, is this a Republican issue, a Democrat issue, or a religious issue?
Well, it's a little bit of all of those. Certainly for evangelicals, this is a happy day. For Republicans who are conservative, it also is a happy day. But not all Republicans, by the way, are evangelical or conservative. And not all Democrats are liberal. There will be conservative Democrats who like this. So it kind of cuts through all of these issues. But at the end of the day, you're going to have some states going to the extreme in one direction, and other states like California and New York saying, we will take care of anybody who needs an abortion. We are a state to come. We are a sanctuary state, if you will, for abortion. And this kind of division, which I find so interesting, only gets exacerbated. Justice Alito said the reason for this decision is to end the rift over this issue. And if you look at that Gallup poll data, this decision only exacerbates the rift on this issue.
Last thought for Judge Cordell here. What's the next steps? What can be done or undone here? What's the next steps for people who are pro-abortion?
Well, first of all, there is a possibility that Congress could pass a law banning abortions nationwide, which would take away the rights of individual states. So the way that this can be addressed, and the only way, is for people to vote, to put people into office in Congress and in the states where people who support the right of a woman to have decision-making about her reproductive rights. And so voting is really the key to this. And to just finally say that so divided is this Supreme Court that there was one word missing from the dissent. These three justices dissented. Usually they say, we respectfully dissent. And this one, they kept out the word respectfully. They just said, we dissent. That is a big deal. This court, as well as this country, is seriously and egregiously divided.
Yeah, those little things do matter on this big decision. Thank you, Judge Cordell and Larry Gerston, for your time and your insight with us this evening.